Hey everybody, Jonathan Broadbent here, your host of UnWoke.Academy. See, I'm so excited about this episode. I got a little bit of a frog in my throat. A little froggy there. Jonathan Broadbent here. Welcome to another episode of UnWoke.Academy focused on the financial PMA. I like to do this live every Wednesday at noon Eastern time to bring people up to speed and give you guys an opportunity to ask any questions you might have. Periodically, I get, and I'm going to suggest this is the key question, and this is your homework. I want you to think about this for future episodes and to kind of feed the conversation. The next time you're online or log in and look at a 401k statement or IRA or whatever, if it lists some investment in there, typically mutual fund, but whatever type of investment vehicle that you're in, send the name of it to me. Let's dig into it a little bit. Of course, and I always promise this, you will be kept anonymous. There's no chance that your name gets out or is used in any way, shape, or form, unless actually you want to post now live, in which case I may share that and I will try to incorporate your question. But if you think of one, if you're in, let's say any mutual fund, post the name of it or send it to me and I'll include it in a future episode. The thing to do, and I want to show you guys like the live action real time of me doing the due diligence that I do and looking into those mutual funds and all the stuff like them. If you're in the investing world, you know that includes UITs and ETFs and all the other things that are similar to mutual funds, but a little bit different. Let's dig under the hood, or wait a minute, I'm confusing two analogies there. References. So let's lift the hood. That's the expression. Let's lift the hood on mutual funds and delve a little bit into what's underneath them. Because why fund the things that you don't like? If you're like me at all, or just simply patriotic and not far left, know what you're funding. And if you have money going into some mutual fund that's then investing your money in far left companies, causes, and countries, like we continue to reference back to that interview that I did with Justin Bernier, exposing the use of our funds via offshore managers going into illicit things in communist China, funding the growth and expansion of the Chinese Communist Party's military ambitions. And yeah, it's just crazy to me. There are people who are really floored by that when they discover that some of their money is going to fund that sort of thing. So be that person who is, put yourself in a position of awareness and knowledge, inform yourself, and let's explore non-woke alternatives or unwoke sorts of things. By the way, for anybody new, UnWoke isn't a product. We're a research group. I've been doing financial due diligence, analytics, and research for decades. I did it on and for and adjacent to, and now I guess I could say in opposition to, Wall Street for decades. So I'm the person who goes out and examines the managers, the investments. I've done that due diligence at very high levels for large and small, for nonprofits, for-profits, etc., for decades. I have a lot of skill and connections and experience with that, and now I'm just simply sharing that with the world. That's the UnWoke Academy. Financial PMA is us putting that into practical application. So, in discovering, and now we have years of data and research, exercising, getting rid of, jettisoning the woke stuff to not have it in your portfolio, shave out as many of those layers of ancillary extra fees as possible, and then put you guys in a better position in your portfolio, wherever you're invested, in your current 401k or IRA account or wherever. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to the research. And it's not a product. What the financial PMA is encouraging people to do is explore going back to self-directing and directing in a meaningful way where you know what you own. And typically, most usually in our experience so far, that means a drastic reduction in the fees that you pay. So that's a win-win for you. I want to start off today's conversation by telling you about something super cool that happened in my life recently. I don't spend a lot of time at the doctors. I make a point of trying to stay active, be healthy, get a lot of exercise. I eat healthy, and thanks in very large part to my wonderful wife, who has steered us in the direction of much healthier dietary habits and knowing the foods that we eat. I count myself blessed to be a pretty healthy individual. However, every once in a while, I do want to go to a doctor. And just through the experiences that I've had and the work that I've done, um, it's another one of those strange intersections in life. I've spent many, many years working at a very high level with a lot of very large hospitals. And I've done, for anybody that is works in finance or knows some of the terminology, I've written articles for 403B publications, and done all those sorts of things. I've worked on what's called unfunded liability and issues like it, which put me in direct contact with the board's senior directors and doctors and administrative staff who run very, very large hospitals all over the country, from coast to coast, north to south. I've worked with a lot of them. However, for me, currently, I'm candidly not interested in going to one of those mega hospitals. They have beautiful looking buildings, generally speaking, but I don't view my best interests as being served in those mega hospitals. So I've recently made friends with an ex Amish. He left the Amish community and is um, super knowledgeable, great, healthy person, and is a lot of the things that I want to be about my health and diet. Grows his own food and does all kinds of really cool stuff that I think is really very interesting. But anyway, that's kind of beside the point. In a recent conversation, I just made the comment, said, where do Amish to me seem like they're very, very healthy and very focused, not on pharmaceutical, or I guess I'm drawing some expectations, or these may be stereotypes, but I think they hold true, that I think the Amish make concerted effort to eat well, be healthy, don't go to the doctor often, and maybe, hopefully, avoid big pharma influence on what we call health. And maybe, hopefully, they don't take a lot of pharmaceutical prescriptions. So I got into this conversation with him and said, where do you go? The answer, in short, was that there are doctors around who really focus on the Amish community, and they're reluctant to work with people like me who are not Amish. And that's really unfortunate. But he told me there's a trend shift, and that some people that have in various ways been connected with the Amish community, or maybe left the Amish community, or would have in the past serviced only the Amish community, are opening these health and wellness clinics all over the country that are very focused on driving healthier behaviors and healthier outcomes for us as individuals. I was like, that's immediately on my radar. And the light bulb went on, and I was like, that's the person that I need to contact. So he put me in touch, and I've had one meeting so far with this doctor. I went in He did the usual thing, the blood pressure, cough, and talked to me about my health and my regular habits and how much sleep I get and do I drink water and all those sorts of things. I think those are probably still staples of the mega industrial health complex, whatever you want to call them, mega hospitals. Um, Check my heart and breathing, listen to my lungs with a stethoscope, all the things that you would expect. But then there were huge parts of the conversation that were so unbelievably refreshing. He took the time to ask a lot of questions about my dietary routines and what types of foods that I eat. He even asked the question of whether or not I'd gotten the jab. And that was just in and of itself. The way that he asked seemed very open, and it wasn't. I got the strong sense that he's not one of those doctors that we read about who gets paid more money to try and jab people, and probably quite the opposite. He may be working to try and get some of those people who have gotten some of the jabs healthy again, and that may be a battle for him. So there was no talk or no steering whatsoever toward what what kind of pills could he put me on and what can he inject me with. And the whole thing was very focused on my health and healthy behaviors, which brings me back to UnWoke.Academy and the financial PMA. That really, in a nutshell, describes this initiative. It's why I'm here. It's why I do these podcasts. It's why I launched the whole thing. And there we have a growing ranks within the financial PMA of people who've decided that they want to take that step for themselves and lead healthier financial lives for themselves. And we have lots of conversation about. I just had one. What's today? Wednesday. Yesterday morning, comparing a couple of different banks. I'm not on the banking side, but I know enough and I have enough contacts to make some suggestions. And I heard an earful about some woke bank who was doing terrible woke-a-doodle things that this person completely objects to. So we set the stage through that conversation for them to switch from one bank and go to another. Well, awesome. That's a great sort of thing that comes out of being in a position of neutrality. And you can't get that. It's extremely rare and extremely difficult and can even get you in big trouble if you are connected to Wall Street and engage in that sort of open conversation. That's why I left. Years ago, I left Wall Street and formed my own company to get outside of Wall Street and and put the spotlight on what happens, what truly happens behind the curtain on Wall Street, and just the pressure for product sales. It is so profit driven, not unlike what we understand of mega hospitals. So to me, the analogy is perfect and fits. The parallels are uncanny between the pressures for product in the form of injection or pills within mega hospital and the push for further and further left woke product within Wall Street. And we're seeing the results of that. Again, I'm going to keep referencing, go back and watch those episodes that I did on the parade of woke sameness and ones like it. The Behind the Veil, 401k, that was a 3-part series. And you'll see what I'm talking about. The homogenization, the putting everybody, virtually everybody, into exactly the same thing, and then creating that bubble, it's really unhealthy for everybody. So for some people, there's a fit and they see the light like I did, both financially and in my personal physical health, um, and get away from that sort of confinement, that profit funnel of mega corp. That's what the financial PMA is here for. So that is my suggestion that you should consider the financial PMA. That is our website, by the way. It's financialpma.com. But in the big picture, more importantly, I want everybody out there aware of it because I want a lot of other people in finance to duplicate that. run with it. And if you're a DIY person, you don't want to work with other people, great. Take the research that we're doing. Remember the research that I talked about having a background in, and I've been doing it for over 20 years for all across the country, large and small. I have a very dedicated focus to that process and what it looks like. I share out all the research that I'm doing. If you're DIY, do it yourself. For heaven's sakes, don't let yourself be corralled into, no matter how nice and fun and friendly and affable the people look. There are, in my book, some pretty devious bad actors within the healthcare, I'm air quoting that, healthcare arena, who are more than happy to inject babies from newborn all the way up to people in their 90s with as many injections as possible, untried, untested, unverified, and they get kickbacks from that. I think that's public knowledge by now. There are some doctors out there, and they may look perfectly nice and happy and wonderful, and why wouldn't they be? If they're making millions of dollars a year to do what I don't even, I'm not going to put myself into their motive. Maybe they know it's bad and they don't care. But whatever the motive is, for those doctors to be so unquestioning as to have gone through something like the COVID debacle, and yes, I'm using that as an example. And what did we get up to? 11 shots, booster after booster after booster. I lost track, whatever that number is. That's ridiculous. And I think most people are coming around to an acknowledgement of that. As painful as it may be, we need to acknowledge that. And as a starting point, you have to acknowledge the fact that you're going to go in and look at somebody in the face who's going to wear a white lab coat and have a stethoscope around their neck, who may not have your best interests at heart. They have their profits, their next giant paycheck at heart. The same is true of Wall Street. There's some really, really nice people. I know a lot of them who are wonderful. And again, I'm not going to try and get into assigning or determining their modus operandi, whether or not they're aware of the harms that they do. But to me, ultimately, that doesn't matter. And to you, it shouldn't matter. Your financial professional should have the answers to the questions that I'm presenting here. At the beginning of this conversation, I said to bring your mutual funds or exchange traded funds or whatever you're being put into in your 401k or IRA, wherever it is. I don't care. I don't care where it is, and bring me the names of those or the ticker symbol. And I want to peel the onion on that stuff. If you're nice looking, friendly, well dressed, affable, fun financial advisor, planner, whoever it is, doesn't do that, or if you ask the questions and say, what is my portfolio? Or go into your 401k office and try your human resources or benefits director or whatever, and try and make some determinations. If you're being funneled into the woke stuff and you're funding the very things that many of us are working really hard to eliminate from Western society, the things that harm us, the things that work against America and the West. If you're funding it, don't allow it. And if you're paying for some to funnel you into it, fire them. Replace them with fill in the blank, something better. It can be the financial PMA. We'd love to have you. But in the financial PMA, just as a side note, because there are questions around that. People ask me questions. What is it and how did it form? It formed organically because I was putting out a lot of information. I did whistleblower expose on BlackRock and then Vanguard and a whole bunch of others. And a lot of people said, okay, if those are the bad things I shouldn't be invested in, where are the good things? And then we started researching. I found Justin Bernier and had him as a guest. I had Matthew Tuttle from Tuttle Capital. That's the guy that did Inverse Kramer, and he did ESGX, which is an investment pool minus the ESG garbage. And I've researched and investigated and report on lots of different managers and individual investments. And that's what led to the friendship that we have with Matt and Drew at, and this is a related note, but at Inspire Advisors, we've got two financial planners who are not woke. They've done their commercials, they've done interviews with me, we have a relationship. Go check them out. If you like them and it's a fit and you want to work with a financial planner and have somebody else just sort of do it for me, just give somebody else the do it for me option. That's kind of like they're the easy button. Consider Matt and Drew. If you like them, some of whatever profit they derive from that relationship with you comes back to fund UnWoke.Academy. But none of that is mandatory. All of it is free and publicly available wherever you are. My job here is to help you navigate and explore what the options look like. If you do your own research, you do your own trading, and you want to build a better portfolio wherever you are, I walk you through the steps in prior episodes of how to get something called self-directed brokerage account in your 401k plan, and how to trade and build a portfolio that you can be proud of, that doesn't violate your moral value system, and maybe doesn't. I don't mean to cast aspersions. Clearly, obviously, I don't know your existing portfolio, but it gets away from that prospect that you may be funding the very things that you're trying to avoid in your financial life. So there are several different options spelled out there, for, again, just sort of recapping. For financial planning, check with Matt and Drew. One of the things that they do is what they call an impact report. They're doing it for free for followers of UnWoke.Academy. We are, by the way, we are approaching 22 million views, which is astounding to me. I can't believe we've, right, from the humble beginnings of a friend over at OBBM Network, which is one of our broadcast distribution partners, suggesting, hey, you've got a lot of content there and a lot to say. You should probably buy a green screen and a camera and a microphone and start a podcast. And I think my first question back in October of 23 was, how do I build a green screen? Is it paint or a fabric? And from that beginning, now a couple of years later, we're at 22 million views, which is awesome. If we can get a good number of those people to spread the word and go unwoke, get the woke out of your portfolio, or as we like to say, diss the globalist left. That stands for know where you donate, invest, and spend your money. Get your money out of things like funding the expansion of the Chinese Communist Party's military. Again, if that seems like a bizarre statement, go back and watch the episode that I did. I think it was May of 24 with Justin Bernier. That CPA report was presented to Congress, and they presented in Washington, D.C., to our U.S. Congress, the evidence that companies like BlackRock are doing that they're funneling money through offshore managers and into the growth and expansion of the Chinese Communist Party military. And they even spell it out. You can go to their website. It's, what is it, NSI.com, I think. But it's NSI stands for National Security Index. You can go to their website. That's linked actually in the show notes from that episode. National Security Index. Just do any sort of web search for that. And you're going to find information on making sure that we are not defeating our own military, for heaven's sakes. Beyond that, if you agree with me that critical race theory does not have a place in the selection of your investments in your portfolio. Critical race theory, by the way, for anybody who doesn't know this, has been rebranded as diversity, equity, and inclusion. They're the same thing. Any critical theory has as its roots all kinds of bad stuff that manipulates and distorts things in really, really bad ways. And as I've said in the past in many, many episodes, and related to that request for information that I sent out last year, 2024, to money managers, if they're going to make changes in how they're evaluating good versus bad investments, they have to have justification and reasoning. It's not enough to say social justice, hold the fist in the air. Social justice, we're going to climate change. We're going to environmentally friendly. Those slogans, those catchphrases mean nothing. They mean exactly nothing in the financial world. If they can't prove it, they fail. I've seen it before, and we're starting to see it again now, finally, thankfully, in the financial world. Those managers who've used it, we now have 21 different state attorneys general, and I believe it's the Secretary of State of Indiana. And now we have New York City Workers Union and American Airlines Pilots Union all filing suit for money managers out there having used that stuff. And as soon as they hit the stand, by the way, this is a note to any lawyers, law firms, politicians in our audience. If you need expert witness, call me up because that's my bailiwick. I've been doing this stuff for decades. The manager search, the due diligence processes. I actually was involved in the creation of some of the things that are mainstreamed and used all across the country now. And what I fully anticipate is just a bloodbath on the witness stand. You're going to find managers up there who are simply going to throw the senior leadership of these money managers under the bus because they're going to be saying that we were told to use ESG, that stands for environmental, social, and governance, and DEI, and that we were to succumb to what's called the corporate equity index and put all our investor dollars, all the trillions of dollars into those investments. And as soon as they try to define it, they fail. They can't, they won't. Fast them, none of them will. Off the record, I have lots of conversations with friends of mine in the world of finance, and a lot of them just they can't fight it, or they know they'll lose their job and they can't define it, but it's easy money for now, or has been. So all the trillions of dollars, trillions and trillions all over the world that flooded into this stuff that has no definition, it doesn't actually mean anything. It twisted and manipulated markets in unbelievable ways. Some of us are working on trying to fight that. If you want to be among those working to fight that, then for heaven's sakes, whatever amount it is, it doesn't matter. If you're thinking, well, it's just a small amount, I have $100,000 saved, or whatever your amount is, whatever your number. If you have 5,000 saved, whatever, it doesn't matter. Move it out of that stuff and then tell everybody you know. Bring them into this conversation. And if you have trouble finding out, a couple of things. If you're DIY, go back and watch the episodes where I illustrate how to look up your own investments. Web search, the internet's a beautiful thing when it comes to finding details. I walk you through how to figure that out easily, step by step. Or send the names to me and I'll try to incorporate them in a future podcast and expose those, again, by keeping you anonymous. I'll dig into some of those and lift the hood, or call Matt and Drew, or whoever your advisor is. So again, to be clear, there are several different avenues here. I'm hoping that between us, we continue to move in the right direction, defund the woke stuff. And a big part of that, if you have some financial advisor or a team that you work with somewhere that you like, the first thing is use all this information to just double check and peek into what they're doing. And if they're putting you into the exact same investments virtually everybody else is, and it's the globalist bubble, as I like to call it, then question them. If they're good and you trust them, then convince them that they should follow the same suit. Launch a financial PMA. Fight for the autonomy, as much privacy as possible in a creepy, invasive data mining world. If, again, for context, if you think your smartphone and your web browser and that stuff tracks you, you haven't seen finance. Finance is tremendously invasive. Whatever you want to call them, globalist banks, Wall Street, whatever, they want to know everything possible about your financial life. If you want to get away from that, and you've got people in finance, convince them, tell them there's a better option instead of being woke Wall Street and being like those doctors who go along to get along and inject and jab and sign up as many prescriptions as possible. Instead of going in that track, convince them to get out and go independent, to get away from it. The same thing that a lot of doctors did when they saw the abuse and misuse of the mega hospital systems and that relationship between mega hospital and big pharma's funding of mega hospital, which then gives them access to controlling things called protocols. The protocols are what were implemented to effectively force everybody in hospital systems to just block out all their medical training, background, research, everything, ignore all of the back history and protocols, and instead replace it with these new protocols that were highly questionable at best. The same thing has happened over the last several years in the world of finance. Decades, 100+ years of financial due diligence and investment manager searches changed virtually overnight and it was replaced with DEI, ESG, and woke nonsense. You can't define it. So just like the jabs are now starting to show the negative repercussions, this migration or mass exodus of common sense in the investment world is now coming back to roost as well. I personally hope a lot of the lawsuits land and that a lot of these managers who just found it easiest to go woke and slap a label on there like a sustainable fund, I have a strong feeling they're going to lose a lot of money in those lawsuits. Don't be part of it. Get yourself out. If you're curious about the Financial PMA, go to the website. It's financialpma.com. As I've said, I give everybody everywhere free license to take all the stuff that I publish, use it, duplicate it to your heart's content. It is caveat emptor. You are responsible for whatever results. But I want to try to get the message out to as many as possible because that's how we move the needle. I'm Jonathan Broadbent. Thanks for tuning in to another Wednesday noon Eastern Time edition of UnWoke.Academy and the Financial PMA. Don't forget to send in the names of your investments for next week. In the meantime, take care. Hope you have a great week.